Ons eerste gas is in die ateljee Elsa.
Dis reg, ons gesels vanoggend met die burgemeester van Tshwane, Msimanga, om uit te vind wat presies hulle beplan met die hoofstad van Suid-Afrika. Mr. Msimanga, such a pleasure to have you here in studio with us.
Good morning to you, Elsa, and good morning to the listeners.
Please tell us a little about yourself and how long you've been involved in South African politics.
Msimanga is born and raised in Pretoria. I was born in Atteridgeville. Went to school, went to university here in Pretoria. I've been involved in politics since 2005-6. So I would say about 10 years.
What are some of the critical public service challenges the city of Tshwane will be addressing during the next 5 years?
Look, I think one of the first things that we need to acknowledge and need to start working on, and we have started actually doing that, is the finances. Our city is actually in a very, very bad financial space because of bad management, because of corruption that took place. We find ourselves in a bad financial space. And then this is why I started off by cutting a number of things to make sure that we start changing the course that the ship was heading towards. So that we can change our financial situation, because you'll not be able to deliver on anything if you don't have your finances in order. And I want to go into the debt market at some point so that we can get some money, so that we can implement some of the projects and maintain the infrastructure that we have and build new infrastructure. So the only way I'll be able to do that is if I can demonstrate that at least we have a good financial policy and a good financial strategy in place, and then investors will feel a little bit more confident. So that is number one. Number two, there's an issue of infrastructure that needs to be upgraded and needs to be need for new infrastructure. We need to make sure that we start working on that. One of the things that you would appreciate that is happening right now is the problem of water, that is now grappling. The city's infrastructure, or is increasing the city's infrastructure problem. We want to make sure that we are taking care of all the leaking pipes that are all over the city. But over and above that, we need to make sure that our water reticulation is actually improved. Because Rooiwal, as an example, is one of the sites that we should be doing much more, but you're still having a problem of sludge and all of that. But we are about to be addressing that problem. We'll be making that announcement very, very soon. But also we want to make sure that within the next coming 5 years, we are able to at least try to build more reservoirs that will house more water for our people, and not only for a couple of years, but we want to plan for 15 years in advance.
And it's one of the questions of one of our viewers and listeners was asking about the water, and we are now currently busy at our place to try to get a borehole. And this guy explained to me that with the expansion, the demand is just so big. Our reservoirs is not big enough. But before we get there, my first question for me, when you started shaking things around, especially going to the police and say, listen guys, I've seen some corruption here. Aren't you scared?
Of what?
Of people really trying to hurt you. It's, because it is dangerous. We've seen just before the elections, people being killed. So my first thought was just protect yourself, please.
Look, I am very much aware of the caliber of people that we're dealing with, but that is not going to stop me and us from doing what needs to be done. Because if we're not going to do this, I shudder to think what future we'll be leaving for our children. So I cannot just hide and say, because we're facing criminal elements that might want to, retaliate in a violent manner. I can't stop doing that. So we need to do what is right for the future. And I've said that I'm not going to spend the next 5 years, digging for skeletons, because then I don't focus on delivering. I'm going to be just looking backwards. But then that doesn't stop me from, uncovering some of these things, so that in the immediate we can try to get prosecution, and successfully so, we should be able to then get some of the money back into the coffers of the city that can be channeled towards proper service delivery for our people.
And it's just one thing before Elsa's next question is, Henry is really struggling with a car. It's not possible to get one of those BMWs sent this way.
No, look, when I heard about the BMWs that had already been ordered and paid for, I immediately thought, well, the cars that are already there, that are at our disposal, I actually new vehicles. There's nothing wrong with the vehicles. Yes, they might at some point need replacement. But I thought, well, why should we get brand new vehicles that will serve only politicians when there's so much need for vehicles for our policemen and women? Remember, I've also established a narcotics unit. I've also established an anti-hijack unit in the Metro Police. So I said, well, what better way than to start them off with some equipment? I know that BMW was not very happy with me, with a choice of cars that we said, but it didn't come from me. It came from a journalist, who says, also now the executive is going to be driving cars like we do. And I said, what do you drive? He says, no, I drive an i20. I said, well, it is a sensible car. Yeah. So the next day, the story is Msimanga drives an i20, or Msimanga will be driving an i20. So this is where, this is how it came about. But look, my feeling is that if I want to drive a BMW, an X5 or whatever, it should come out of my own pocket, right? And I have a BMW. I have 2 BMWs, but I'm paying for them out of my own pocket. So if I want to drive luxury cars, it shouldn't be at the expense of taxpayers. Taxpayers' money should go towards proper service delivery for them, and that's where money should be channeled to.
Mr. Msimanga, what are some of the practical changes and improvements inside of the administration of City of Tshwane that you will be focusing on during the next 5 years?
Well, I think one of the things that we are going to do is that the top management needs to change, or the structure of it. I'm trying, by all means, not to be, to dispose of people, but I think we have a very, very bloated administrative top structure. I mean, you have head of departments and you have executive directors for almost everything. And in certain instances, you actually have people that had been suspended for up to 2 years and have been receiving pays for up to 2 years. And some of the directors are earning over $1 million a year. So we need to make sure that ours is a lean but very effective administration at the top, so that it can free some of that money for us to be able to employ more people who are doing the actual job. So that is one of the things that we are working on doing at a practical level. But also, we are introducing more prudent, call it financial measures, so that we don't have any more wastage of our finances, but money can then be channeled towards the right thing. So one of the things that we were also introducing now is the procurement or e-procurement that also can cap how people are spending, and is also able to pick up when there seems to be fraudulent invoicing that is taking place. So you're able to pick that up, you're able to then work with it. But also there's performance management contracts that all our management staff are going to be signing. Gone will be the days where projects go over time and over budget and nobody's really held accountable. So what we're saying is that if you are going to be responsible for a department and there's a budget and there's a project that you're implementing, you better make sure that it's delivered on time, and you better make sure that it's delivered within the budget. So those are some of the things that we want to do practically, and to be held accountable. And also there's an issue about the call center as well, or the customer relations management of the city as well. We're working very, very hard to change that. There's going to be a very, very different vibe about how they respond to calls, how they will respond to you when you walk into the centers, the time it takes for you to get service, and also getting feedback in terms of whatever it is that you're going to be requesting out of the city. But lastly, we also want to start speeding up the processes of approving plans. I mean, there's developmental plans that people want to expand, or people want to come and bring in new developments, and it's taking forever for those to be approved. So we are saying that we are looking at changing a number of things and cutting a number of bylaws that are really a hindrance now for progress to take place. So those are some of the practical things that we will be implementing in the next couple of weeks and months going into the future.
Is there the change came now in some of the metros, and a lot of people were excited because they know if you just look at the Western Cape, the DA is doing things right. But they're thinking everything's going to change within a month, and that is impossible because you inherited a lot of trouble. Do you feel that pressure? You want to tell people just take it easy. We're working.
I wish I had a magic wand. But people, and understandably so, people have been, for years, been told lies. For years have been promised and things are not being delivered. So now they have become really impatient. But you need to appreciate the fact that, I'm almost starting from a very negative base. Financial-wise, I'm starting from a negative base, where you need to get your finances up in order first so that you will be able to deliver to the people. But also, over and above that, there is an issue of when we came into office, you find that we actually inherited a budget and a plan. And the only time you'll be able to touch and change that budget or that plan will be January next year, when you get into the mid-year budget review. That's the only time you're able to then have an adjustment on the budget and actually implement things that you want to implement. But as it is, we have to work with a budget and with a plan that is already there. But ours is just to say, how do we then make sure that the things that have been planned are actually being are delivered as they're supposed to be delivered.
How can the public become actively involved in the efficient administration of the city of Tshwane or any other municipality for that matter?
Oh, yes. I've said that we'll run an administration that is very, very transparent and open to our people. And this is why I'm telling you what the problems are. But I don't want to tell only what the problems are. I want people to come on board and help us find solutions. I had a very interesting meeting with one sports celebrity last week, and I said, well, I need all of you to come on board. It's not going to, I'm not going to have enough money to take care of the problems, number one. But also I need big businesses to come on board and say, how do we assist? Give you a typical example. I'm looking for 1,000 bicycles. There are Metro Police officers that have been trained to do visible patrolling on bicycles, but we don't have that. So I'm looking for 1,000 bicycles. I'm looking for 1,000 uniforms to give to, and it needs to be unique bicycle uniforms with padded pens and all of that. I want to make sure that in our streets, you have Metro Police officers that are on bicycles that are visible. That's one of the practical things that we need, right? We need more vehicles. We are going to procure more vehicles, but I want companies, I want businesses to also come on board and say, how do we assist you? We want a clean city. That's one of the things that we said we want. But I want also the big property owners and property developers to start owning some of the streets, all right? To say, we will help clean the street. We will help providing the car guards for this area, which will also form part of security of a particular street. So we want people to really come on board and work with us. We are promising to give people a very clean city, a very safe city, so that we can start attracting investment. But we want to ensure that people come and help us to do all these things that we need to do.
And I think, the more you establish this open, good governance, people will trust it more. And I've got a message here from Johan Schneider that gave you...
The old boss. No, that's my old boss.
It's 17 years ago, and
Yes.
someone says here in a mail that it's just like him, giving people opportunities.
Yeah.
Because, you being a waiter, being able to study, becoming the mayor of Tshwane, and that's making a difference in life.
That's one of those people that had really played a very integral part in my life. And this is exactly what I want to do. A boy who's coming from a shack, who's grown up, very poor, would have thought that, your life would have ended there, but that was not the case. And this is what drives me to say, what kind of opportunities can we put, not for a Solly Msimanga alone, but for the people of the city, and indeed the people of South Africa, because if you get it right in your capital city, remember your embassies are all based here.
Yeah.
Your institutions of higher learning are in the majority here in the city. So imagine the kind of clean government will do for all of us, and what it will do for investor confidence in our city. And indeed, then it will replicate in other municipalities, it will replicate in other provinces, and indeed, we will then see a clean government or a responsive government throughout, South Africa, which is what we're aiming for. A country that government takes care and is actually very respectful of its citizens.
Sure. That's a
Mr.
good summary.
Msimanga, you're such a remarkable person, and I wish we had more time. But thank you so much for joining us for this discussion this morning.
Well, we can set up another appointment and we'll come and engage with the listeners. But thank you very much.
Wonderful. Dit was dan Solly Msimanga, die uitvoerende burgemeester van Tshwane.
En nou ook mooi opgesom, dan nou beloof hy kom terug vir daai vrae want ons het gevra vir 2 dae al om dit hier te stuur, maar daar's soveel wat ons oor wil praat, so ons sal definitief daai terugvoer nog bespreek. Ons sal definitief nog 'n afspraak
Ja, ek dink jy noem 'n punt van die vrae is ook al geadresseer, soos wat ons dit ontvang het hy van die vrae alreeds beantwoord sonder dat ons dit hoef te gevra het. So dis 'n man wat voorbereid is.
Nee, verseker. Jy kan ingeskakel bly. Ons gaan hierna nog boeke gesels op die groot ontbyt.